Hi, this is Graphically Alex coming at you with all things fat related. If that's something that interests you, please subscribe. I'd love to have you. So today, I was feeling very bratty today. I've been feeling super bratified, which to translate Graphically Alex language, it just means that I've been feeling very restless, which I might talk about it in a health update video soon because it's really resurging. To make a long story short, I think I'm feeling a very big void from not freaking out about or not even really having any feelings at all about my body. And I think it's creating some weird dopamine lapse moment where my brain has to adjust to that source of constant stimulation or constant thought process, etc. So basically, I'm having a little bit of a brat relapse this autumn for totally different reasons. That's why I think it is spiritual yet physical. It's really weird. This era is very weird. My Lana era. But anyways, we're going to go ahead and talk about this FatLibLondon because I'm feeling bratty, which means I feel a little Britishy, a little bratty. No, I'm just kidding. No, but Miss Charlie XCX, she's Britishy. And it's been almost a year since Britishy Georgie. Isn't that crazy? Since I premiered Britishy Georgie on the channel. That's wild to me. So let's get into it. We're going to talk about it. Okay, as Charlie says. Let's go. So, here we go. Dear ex-fats, how to stay an ally. So, I guess I'm an ex-fat. You have a unique and powerful perspective. Thank you. That's all you need to say. We'll leave it there. Thank you. I know. No, I'm just kidding. Thank you so much. You've been fat. You know how the world treats fat bodies. This is your chance to break the cycle. Okay. All right, let's go. Okay, why this matters. Losing weight doesn't end fat discrimination and fat phobia. Fat people still face medical bias, harassment, discrimination. Not everyone can or wants to lose weight. I don't know if they understand that wants really weakens this, to a lot of levels. That is a wild thing to say there. Can isn't even true, especially if we're talking about very big sizes, which typically fat liberationists are talking about very, very big sizes. Anybody can lose weight if you're super morbidly obese. Not everybody will be snatched with abs, but anybody cannot be obese, period. There is no genetic obesity. Obesity is a certain level of fatness or a certain level of weight that's not healthy for anybody, and it is not genetically encoded or anything. That argument completely dies when it comes to obesity. There's no excuse to be obese. No. So as far as a little bit overweight, maybe pudgy, maybe this, maybe that, maybe not looking the best all the time, sure. Maybe a certain medication that you need, it adds maybe your appetite goes up a bit, you get 10 pounds heavier or something like that. I can kind of understand that. But when they act like a medication makes you 150 pounds overweight and it just stays that way forever, my eyes start to roll. I'll put it to you that way. So we start to get into Delulu town. So let's go ahead and continue this. The ability to change your size is a privilege. Not at very big sizes. It absolutely is not. It's actually a lot cheaper than to maintain super morbid obesity. Does not work. And it comes with the responsibility for how you speak about fatness. I have a feeling they wouldn't like how I speak about it. As far as the medical bias, harassment, discrimination, I would need citation needed for how bad it is and for how much it is compared to everyone. Okay. All right. So as far as the medical side, harassment and discrimination, Everybody does, on one level or another. I don't think there is this like fairy tale experience of life that people go through. In terms of fatness, at the very least, it's not as common. There's never been laws based around it. And there's at least a baseline relatability because anybody can become fat. So it just really takes out a lot of the hatred that has been put onto other groups of people. So I think there is a toxic ritualistic drive. I think when we get into people who are obsessed with fat people or, really having an issue in the sense of like they want to bully a fat person all the time, it usually is coming from an internalized issue where they may have E followed by the letter D. Anywhere across the spectrum of that, they might have it. If they're that obsessed with another person's weight, it's more of a sign of a pathology, a mental illness, than some kind of legal or even political discrimination. Okay? All right. Your new thin privilege is power. Use it to fight anti-fat bias, not reinforce it. Ooh, thin privilege. Here's how to manage the transition to being an ally after losing weight. Do. Talk about your past with respect, not disgust or shame. So this one, I feel like I don't think we're entitled to how other people feel about their own experiences. I personally would do this typically. Sometimes I'm just shocked at how big I actually was. I think because I lost it over a long period of time, it can be a bit surprising to people in my life and even to me, because for me, it's been a long process of multiple years. And when it's that slow and steady, you just don't really notice it. So for me, there's a little bit of a surprise at this point. At times, sometimes I just use the joke where I'm like, this is AI, it's not real, that kind of thing. Which, ironically, according to a lot of fat activists, if you've lost weight, you forget everything ever about being fat. So, there's a future hack for you. Just say it was AI. No, I'm just kidding. I'm not saying that. No, don't. Don't you dare. You let people know that you can do it because you did it type of vibe. If you want to help, let people know the truth. Okay. That was me being a bad activist for a second. Okay. Listen to fat people's experiences now. Here we go. They know their bodies and lives better than you do, and why and how you lost weight is personal, not universal. So I do that plenty in my line of work. I think that that's what I do most of all, I would say, is listening to particularly fat activists' experiences. In 2024, it was the year of Aubrey Gordon on this channel. I listened to that woman's thoughts, feelings, etc. all year in a way that I never really intended. I think some of you guys have been like, I want you to talk about her again. And I'm like, I'm not ready yet. I'm getting there. I'm getting there. When I was watching The Biggest Loser thing, I think I almost blocked her out. I am exhausted with Aubrey at the moment. And I've still, even when I wasn't completely focusing on her, she did the stuff that she's done to Angelica. So her name still came out of my mouth. Even when I was wanting to take a breather. I mean, gosh, when I was in my tortured era, the album it's based on is the Torture Poets Department. There's a song called Fuck You, Amy. And I used to sing Fuck You, Aubrey, because she just really, through all of the stuff that she said, she was trying to tell me it was impossible to do what I was doing. And it was hard because I was like morbidly obese and I wasn't 100% confident that I could see this through to the end. And so to hear her voice in my head and like constantly do it, like it was just horrible. And even like when I do certain like weight updates and stuff, her name comes out of my mouth where it's like, I thought you said it was impossible, Aubrey, you know? So I don't know. It's a very weird. For my spiritual girlies and boilies, there's probably some kind of a karmic tie to Aubrey Gordon in my life right now. I think it was karmic. There was a karmic experience with that. Okay? Okay? But anyways, I've listened plenty. Put it to you that way. So I guess I'm a good fat ally because I've definitely done a lot of listening. A lot. Credit fat liberation for how it helped when you were bigger. No, it never helped. It made things worse. It actually made me feel more shame about being overweight or super morbidly obese. It was creating a backlash where I was actually worried that people would actually start to hate fat people because it was getting so bad. Luckily, that didn't happen. Thank God. It didn't happen. It never materialized. But I was actually nervous about it in 2022. I say that all the time. Around the time I started the activism, I was like really worried. And I was like, oh my gosh, like I have to do something. Or like we need people to speak up. And I'm pretty sure my friend Lisa would remember because I told her to. I'm like, you need to say something. Like we need to do this. Like, because we were still so big at the time. And I was like, we need to like be big people saying this, because I think a lot of people wondered, like, or not wondered, but didn't necessarily understand the purpose of like starting this when I was huge still. But that was one of the reasons, is I was like, oh my gosh, I need to do a little bit of damage control. Like I need to let people know online, like not all fat people think this way. Like this is ridiculous, you know, which obviously there have been other people who have done a great job at that. But yeah, I'm just saying it's big. So like it does help if you are a bigger person and you know, say that you're not into this stuff. Like it actually helps, because I think people need to understand like there's no correlation between fatness and belief. So as far as how did it help me, it didn't. It never actually did. I would say it didn't help me at all. So yeah, you know, if anything, Aubrey's rhetoric was an extreme hindrance that I still fought through, honestly using a lot of anger and spite to fight through it when it came to Aubrey specifically. And I'm calling out people today. I know Angelica knows, because she's sat and watched and listened to her stuff like over and over again. There's just something about Aubrey there. I don't know. Maybe Angelica has a karmic tie as well. Maybe. I don't know. It happens. I don't know. But I don't know. It would be so weird. I feel like one day I'm going to end up meeting Aubrey or something. I just feel it because of that. But anyways, I feel like the story isn't over with that. But anyways, let's continue. I feel like that was just chapter 1. That was just chapter 1 last year. But anyways, okay. Many of its ideas like body neutrality and access rights still protect you today. So body neutrality, I don't think is a part of fat liberation. That's more of a like BOPO thing, in my opinion. I think that a lot of fat activism, it wants you to obsess over how you look or obsess over your appearance specifically. So I would say that something else was behind body neutrality, which I do really appreciate the concept of body neutrality. I think it's a great step within toxic ritualistic, aka euphorbia letter D recovery. I think it's a really good one, especially when you are very big. It's really important because you can just feel completely hopeless, you know, or if you get too looks based, it's really not smart for a very long time. I would just not even consider it for a long time if you're super morbidly obese. And then you get used to not considering it. And that's what happened for me. So I was used to not caring about how I looked, to where then when it was time to start thinking about it a little bit, I could come at it from a realistic perspective, because a lot of those habits had already been broken. So, okay. Challenge anti-fat bias when you see it, even if it benefits you now. This isn't real. So as I've told you guys, anti-fat bias, it's more of a toxic ritualistic thing. It has to do with internalized issues. Okay, that's my opinion anyway. Recognize structural issues in your privilege rather than framing fatness as purely personal responsibility. So I think this is a terrible thing to do. I think that this encourages people to stay in the problem, and I think that it ultimately is a toxic ritualistic reinforcement. It's something that people use. People often will use politics, the system, whatever, insert whatever you want it to be, as an excuse for why they are big, when the real reason has to do with how much they're eating. And there doesn't tend to be any investigation behind why they're eating so much, whether it is a mental health issue or a physical health issue, which it's typically one or the other. And a lot of fat acceptance is about just ignoring that completely and not dealing with it. So it's like, if you're hypothyroid, don't think about it. Who cares? If you're diabetic, who cares? Don't think about it. If you have PCOS, who cares? Don't think about it. If you have an E followed by the letter D, if you're BINGE, don't think about it. Who cares? None of it matters. And I don't think that running from these issues helps anybody. I don't think that ignoring it is actually going to help anyone. And I don't think blaming your hypothyroidism on the government is going to help you actually deal with it, for example. So you have to still deal with it yourself, and you need to do what you need to do. If you have fatty liver, you're probably going to have to do a caloric deficit to get rid of fatty liver, especially if it's non-alcoholic, and then you're going to have to avoid alcohol, which I did. Yeah. So there are certain steps you need to do. It's not healthy to have a fatty liver. It really affects a lot of hormonal systems in your body, creates a lot of problems. It's a huge part of why there are so many health issues within obesity, because it correlates so heavily with fatty liver. It's really bad for you. Okay, so anyways, I feel like they try to ignore all that. And it's like, there is a lot of personal responsibility in dealing with those issues, in facing these things. Nobody else can force you to do it. I don't think advocating for the government to force you is necessarily the right path forward with this. I think that we experience our bodies first and foremost the most. And so we need to take care of our bodies, because we are the most equipped to understand what they need. We can feel the issues. We can feel what's wrong. We can work with the solutions. And, you can work with your doctor to find solutions to these issues and actually take steps to resolve a huge portion of them, especially within obesity. A lot of the stuff within obesity can be resolved. So it is horrific to put some kind of hypothetical, everything must be perfect with the government, which it never will be, thing of why everybody's fat or why we should not care about being fat, because the government isn't perfect. It's like, it's never going to be, period. Like, it's just not. So if you're waiting for that, it's just one of those hypothetical bullshit things that people put in their mind as a toxic ritualistic reinforcement. Essentially, it's not logical. It just isn't. Even if there are structural issues, you should be able to resist them as much as you can and not just be passive and just allow the system to kill you, basically. I just don't see how that's a viable option or how that even makes sense from a logical perspective at all. Support fat access needs, even if they no longer apply to you. I think, sure. I mean, I do. For the most part, I think it's important to encourage fat people to live their lives. I've always said that. It's important to get a fat person out of the house. You know, it's important to do these things. You want to get fat people to be experiencing the real world as much as possible, especially if they're like introvert cringe and like terminally online and within fat acceptance circles. I think it's really important to go outside and touch grass. So I do think there should be access where it's reasonable and appropriate. Like if you're going out, try to make sure there's a seat where they can sit, stuff like that. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. But I also think that it's up to the fat person to understand how big they actually are and what is reasonably accommodated, because we can't get to a point where we're advocating to widen hallways like J-Bay. Okay? It's a bit much. Okay. And then obviously with airplane space, you can get 2 seats. You know, there are things you can do, which people don't want to hear that either, but it's very expensive to be super morbidly obese. And that's one of the ways that it is very expensive. And that needs to be understood. Like, it is a huge waste of your money to be super morbidly obese on pretty much every single level possible. Okay? All right. If you have an online presence, accept that many of your fat followers who help build your audience may choose to stop following you to protect their peace. I've said it many times, you're not going to get toxic ritualistic reinforcement on this channel. I have had people try to get it from me. I don't care if it's reductive, binge, I don't care what it is. Anywhere in between, you're not getting it here. We don't do that here. I'm never going to do that. You just don't even know how much I'm not going to do it. If there's anything I hate with the fire of 1,000 suns, it is this problem. I am never going to reinforce it on this channel or in my personal life. I will never reinforce it with anybody ever. So if you come to me with an issue, I am never going to reinforce it. I'm never going to tell you you're right. I'm never going to tell you, I'm not going to give you grace. I'm not going to give you an inch. I'm giving you nothing. You will get nothing from me. I will tell you that's bullshit. I will tell you you're using that as an excuse. I will tell you that is a lie. I will tell you these things. I will not reinforce these issues ever, ever, ever. And if you cannot handle that, then you can go, because I'm not going to ever do it. It will never happen. This channel is a place for people who are stepping away from that, or who are away from it, or trying to understand it, or whatever else. It's not a place for it to fester and get worse over my dead body. Okay? All right. Uplift other larger fat black and brown voices when offered opportunities that no longer apply to you. Honestly, there's a lot of white women within fat acceptance, if we're talking like demographic wise. So I tend to just talk about who's talking, period. So that's just the numbers, babe. It's just the numbers. I actually have been finding a lot of gay men that are fat acceptancy on Instagram. I'm going to be covering them soon. I will cover you if you talk about this. I will find you. No, I'm just kidding. I will find you and I will talk about it. It's an equal opportunity zone. You can be talked about. I don't care if you're the most masculine man in the world. I don't care. I don't care. I don't care about skin color or any of that. I do not care. I will talk about it if you're talking about it. This issue is one of those strange issues that can affect pretty much everybody. So, yeah. If you're talking about it, we're going to talk about it. Period. Okay, do not post before or after photos to prove moral worth or how hard work pays off. Oh, how dare we. It fuels stigma and undermines your past self. I will do that. I still do it. I think this is something that they don't want you to do because it's not reinforcing. So this is a major thing. If it isn't reinforcing, they don't want you to do it. Because if you're bursting a bubble, you're bursting an illusion in the person with the E followed by the letter D. You're ruining their lie that it's impossible. So that's why they don't want to see it, because they have to do work to like patch that up in their brain. They have to do a few reinforcement rituals after seeing it. Well, it would never work for me. Well, this could have happened for me. Well, that's just their genetics. That's their experience. You see, like, there's all these things, and you have to, like, it's like, oh my gosh, it's like the boat is sinking. I have to, like, throw stuff on the hole where it's leaking. So that's kind of how it is. So they don't want to have to do that. They want to be able to stay in this, like, toxic ritualistic stasis. And on this channel, I advocate to always burst those bubbles, always pierce the hull of the ship and force them to keep patching it up and realize how much work they're actually putting into it. How much work, which it's a lot. It is a lot. They will talk about how much mental bandwidth goes into counting calories, but they will not talk about how much mental bandwidth goes into maintaining a toxic ritualistic issue. Takes a lot of work. It's a lot of mental mind games. So much mental matrix, so much reinforcement, so many mantras you have to repeat to yourself. It's genetic, it's genetic, it's genetic, it's genetic, it's genetic. I can't do it. That could never be me. That could never be me. That could never be me. It's almost like it's a twisted, that's why I call it the toxic ritualistic. It's all ritualistic. It's repetitive. It's mantras. It's like a meditation, and a very toxic meditation that you are taking a part in that needs to be dismantled and thrown out and gotten rid of. Okay? Share details on how you lost weight. Oh, heaven forbid. This is not reinforcing. You can't control how it's received, and it may trigger or harm your audience. It's not going to harm anybody. No. This is just a big no. It's not going to reinforce. So if somebody has this crazy experience or they did crazy stuff to downsize, I think that it is not necessarily harmful, because that person isn't going to immediately do that. You know what I'm saying? That's not a normal response, and most people don't. So that's the thing too. You have to understand. Remember, so much of it is individuation. Just because somebody did something doesn't mean that I have to do something. Just because somebody doesn't do something doesn't mean that I can't. You need to stop that. So that's a part of recovery too. And that's still a part of the issue. So if you feel this drive, well, this person did this, now I have to do it. Well, this person did that, now I have to do that. That's a part of that mental matrix. And they don't want to see that because it gets harder. They don't want you to make it harder for them. I would never suggest doing it in a crazy way. I think it can be toxic ritualistic on the other end. Again, they always reinforce each other. Both extremes reinforce each other a lot. And because if it is really crazy, then it's super easy to be like, oh my gosh, I could never do that. And that's like a fat person, or not a fat person. That's a toxic ritualistic, binge person's favorite line. I could never do it. I could never do that. 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 Let me just repeat it 50 times. I could never do it. 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 I see this person on Instagram. I could never do that. I could never do it. I could never do it. I could never do it. I'm making fun of it. Okay? We're going to make fun of it because it's dumb. Okay? Okay. Told you, I'm feeling bratty today. I warned you. All right. Dismiss fat people's realities because they don't match your own experience. No, this is a huge no from me. We are dismantling illusions. We are shattering the toxic ritualistic. We are not reinforcing ever. And there are a lot of things you have to dismiss because it is ridiculous what people will say. It is ridiculous. People say really stupid things. One of them being, it's your genes. You're just lucky. Oh, yeah. There's so much luck. So much. You could never understand. Yes, I could. You don't understand. When I say I have food addiction, yes, I do. I used to say it all the time, and it was bullshit. And it's still bullshit for you. Period. It's crap. It's a toxic ritualistic thing to say. Period. And people are like, no, that's true, no, you don't understand it. I have journal entries from high school of me saying, I'm a food addict. I'm addicted to food. I never got further away from getting out. The more I believed it, the longer it lasted. I'm telling you. That's a big one. But that's what I get. Don't dismiss it. Don't dismiss it. Oh, honey, I'm going to dismiss bullshit. We're dismissing bullshit. We're dismissing weight is genetic. We're dismissing you're just lucky. We're dismissing food addiction. There's no scientific proof of it. Look it up. You're not going to find it. It's highly contentious. It's highly debated. And I think it's only debated because there are so many toxic ritualistic people that do not want to let it go. If you compare it to drugs and alcohol, it is no comparison whatsoever. And then people reach and they're, oh, it's this, oh, it's that. Oh my gosh, it's like gambling. No, it isn't. It's a different mechanism. Like, do you not understand that the brain sees different things differently? The brain processes different things differently. Your hunger is not a sign of an addiction. Your hunger is a physical drive. Within addiction, there's never too little gambling. There's never too little drinking. There's never too little smoking. There's never too little corn. There's never too little of something. When it comes to food, there definitely is too little. It's not an addiction. Get a grip. Now, certain foods are hyperpalatable. Yes, that's true. Certain foods are not filling. That's what I would call it. They're not filling. What is one of those foods? Seed oils, which people hate it if you talk about it, but I'm going to talk about it. They are not as filling. If you had French fries in seed oils versus in beef tallow, the tallow ones would make you much fuller. It'd be a lot harder to eat than the seed oil ones. They're not as filling. That's why they want you to have them, because you just keep eating and eating and eating. Other things that are not as filling are bread. If you have insulin resistance, then sugar is not as filling. If you're not insulin resistant, you can have some fillingness, depending, at least on your genetics, because I've felt full from eating sugar before. But I didn't when I was insulin resistant, which I think you'd have to be exercising a lot and stuff to get full from that. But that's not true for everybody. I'll put it to you that way. I think that's more, it depends on the person. Then you're going to have some people that are more volume eaters, where they're more genetically inclined to feel fuller with more volume. Like, there is some genetic variation, but it's still not addiction. It's hyperpalatability, which is still different. It's this food that I'm eating is not real food, or it's not similar to other foods that are in nature, so therefore my body can't register it. Or maybe I have a certain genetic weakness to a certain thing. That's what it is. That's still not an addiction. So, yeah. I really broke that one down. But like I said, I'm not going to reinforce it. I can address it. I can say what it is. It's hyperpalatable. It's not filling. What's a food that's very filling? Meat. Protein. Eggs. Stuff like that. Yeah, it's hard. You can still overeat them, though, especially if you're going based on a toxic ritualistic drive, because then it doesn't matter how full you are, because it's not about that. But if we're talking about like insulin resistance, yeah, sugar's going to be a huge thing because your body can't process it correctly. So it's going to be a problem. If we're talking about the damn seed oils, yeah, Your body's not going to register it the same. It's a hell of a lot of calories, and your body just doesn't read it the same as it does other forms of fat, especially animal fats. So I'm just saying there is some variation there, but it's still not actually an addiction. It can have to do with maybe you have ADHD and you need dopamine all the time. That's still not an addiction. ADHD is not an addiction. It's a different problem. Okay, we're moving on. Reject fat liberation because you've moved on. It's an ongoing intersectional movement that benefits everyone. No. We're rejecting it. Okay, let's move on. Do not accept compliments that insult your past self. Set firm boundaries. I don't know. I think this is so individual. Like, this is about the person. Remember, we need to have individuation. We need to individuate from people. So you need to allow other people to experience their past differently than how you experience yours. So I think the need to try to control that is bizarre. Also, you have to allow other people to have their feelings about your experience too, or their feelings about your body too. People have feelings. We don't exist in a vacuum of nothing. So while people just do not have the right to be rude or whatever, I understand that. Or, you can say something if they're rude. You also have to allow for people to comment on it. Because a lot of times within fat acceptance, they say, oh, well, if you say anything at all, then that's triggering to me or that's bad. You have to get over that. It is a huge shift and it is an external change, and people are going to have something to say about it. Hijack fact spaces to center your weight loss journey. That includes hashtags. Good luck with that. Assume you can take up the same space you once did in the fat community. The way you move through the world has changed. You need to become comfortable uplifting fatter voices and giving them space you previously took for yourself. Yeah, and that does not create any incentive to gain weight, does it? That is not a toxic ritualistic reinforcement to encourage people to be as fat as possible so that they have a louder voice. Because remember, weight is not static, it's dynamic. That is a horrible thing to say on a lot of different levels. At higher levels of fatness, your health issues get worse. They get a lot worse. So to even have this incentive to gain is horrible. And it is honestly morally reprehensible to say something like that. It really is. It's horrible. You are leading people down dark paths when you say things like that. And you should know that. But again, the reason why I say they should know it is because they typically have the problem. And even when I was at my worst, I never encouraged anybody else to do what I was doing because I knew it was bad. I knew it. That's why I didn't talk about it. That's why I hid it, because I knew it was wrong. I knew what I was doing was wrong. So I've never understood how far they will go to reinforce, where they want other people to gain as much as possible. Super sick. Okay. Self-reflection prompts. Face the fear. Criticizing fat people often comes from a place of fear of weight gain and of reliving past stigma. That fear is yours to work through, and you have the power to process it without projecting it. I would say, when I criticize fat people, I'm typically criticizing the issue or the logic behind what they're saying. I don't typically go for looks. I typically go for the actual problem, of which I have a lot of experience with. So if I do come across as super angry, it literally is because I'm very angry at the problem and I hate that it exists on a visceral level that only people who are scorpionic, I'm a Scorpio rising, a strong one, a potent one, only y'all can understand it. It's scorpionic anger towards the actual problem. It's deep. It's everlasting. It's a part of everything I do. It's something that I think about every day. I know it's not Scorpio season, but shout out to the scorpionic people. which I think, unfortunately, we're a little bit at risk of this type of issue as it's obsessive. And Scorpionic energy is obsessive. But anyways, the point is, it has to do with the issue itself. I do have some personal issues with Aubrey, but it pales in comparison with the problem that she has and pushes onto everyone else in a very toxic way. Okay. Honor your past self. They were not a failure or a before picture. They lived, loved, and carried you through every challenge. Respecting them strengthens compassion for yourself and for all fat people now and in the future. I don't think that's a bad thing to say. I think I have a lot of appreciation for my past self because I wouldn't be here without actions I took and certain leaps of faith at moments where I didn't have any hope or where I didn't know what was going to happen. And I am proud of that. Self-reflection prompts, name what's changed. Weight loss can change your life, but often the biggest shift is in how others see and value you. That's bias, not proof fatness was the problem. Oh, honey, I noticed so many health benefits to what has happened. It is ridiculous. It is wild how much better my health is. I've noticed my mood is so much better. Most of the time that I've had shifts in how other people see me, it has to do with my mood. They may not understand this, but again, I'm an intense person. I'm a Scorpionic person. I told you guys. You guys can tell. As Taylor would say, I'm the albatross. I'm here to destroy you. No, I'm just kidding. But for real, which Taylor herself, fellow Scorpio rising, she has it too. We're intense. If my mood is bad, it shows. It shows with an intensity of 1,000 suns. It's tough. It's very tough. That's just me personally. I'm a very emotional person, and it shows. I'm an externally emotional person. So for me, having a better mood, it is a huge difference in my relationships. It is a huge difference in my quality of life. It is very important to me. It really, really matters. And it is much better than it used to be, which is pretty wild because it's still a little salty at times. But it was way worse in the past. So that is huge. My ability to think more clearly is huge. That is so important, especially being so emotional. It is so important to be able to have a logical clarity to situations or be able to think before reacting. That is something that I don't think I was physically capable of when I was at my biggest. I used to call it the hypohaze. You can't think as clearly. You see everything so incredibly black and white. And I could finally see reality once I started to get healthier in my brain. So that's really important too. So especially if you are a super emotional person, it's really important to have that logical clarity, and that's something that has come through, and I value it so deeply because I didn't always have it. Sometimes you appreciate something when you didn't have it more than anybody. So to be able to sit and think about something, which we are in Libra season, that's a Libra concept, to be able to sit and think about it before jumping is a huge blessing. Even if it's still unnatural to me, I'll be honest, it's still unnatural. But it's still good. I have succeeded so much more in my life through that ability. Okay. And none of that even has to do with other people as much. But I often think about how much better I'm able to treat others. I'm able to show up more. I'm less avoidant. I'm more stable. I can feel more involved. I feel less self-conscious. I don't feel like, oh gosh, like I bought a Halloween costume. It's going to be on the channel soon, by the way. And I'm not like super worried about like something fitting. If it's one size fits all, like I don't have to think about it. I feel like I can be more involved in things like that. And for me, being so introverted, anything that helps me open up more, that helps me to be more available to people is a huge blessing. And weight loss is a huge part of that. Okay. Anyways, it means the world is treating you with more kindness now. Remember to be kind to your past self too. So I don't know. But I don't know if I was treated that horribly. I think a lot of that is overblown. But I think if things are better, for me personally at least, I think it has a lot to do with how I treat others in comparison. Um, but I'm a very prickly person in general. So being less prickly, it's or being easier to deal with, that's very helpful. Okay. If life feels lighter now, it's because your stigma has lifted. It wasn't your body that needed to change. It was and still is anti-fat bias in society. Well, for me personally, being so introverted, a lot of it was how I felt about my own body. Um, and to have that gone, it's just a huge blessing, honestly. Um, Aside from that, there might be some layers of stigma lifted, but I think it's always overdrawn, overblown. It has a lot more to do with being noticeable or not in certain phases. It has more to do with, actually fitting on the plane versus not fitting on the plane. Like, that has nothing to do with other people. It's like a physical reality thing. It has more to do with certain stereotypes or um, social roles placed on us at different sizes and having to shift through those. That has been challenging for me. But it's been good to be able to point them out so that people understand better and also can help other people understand their experiences. It's helped me to understand the spectrum because I understand why a lot of people say that what they say now because they've lived it. So, yeah, it's complex. There's a lot of interactions between mood, others, how other people see you, right? Like it all goes around. It's a lot. It's very hard to separate them. Do the work. Is your self-worth conditional on staying smaller? If so, it's fragile. I would say no. I mean, I think for me, having enough self-worth to climb out of this was a huge part of it. So obviously I saw worth in myself at my biggest, otherwise I wouldn't be here. Strengthen the parts of your identity that remain no matter what you weigh. So that's something that we can agree with. I think that every fat activist should do that every day. Every single day they should be doing that. And they typically don't. Remember, weight loss is often temporary. Look at that little reinforcement. Research shows most intentional weight loss is eventually regained, even with effort. Be gentle with yourself through these transitions. That's a reinforcement. Okay? You may find yourself part of the fat community again in the future. We'll still be here for you then. You're really hoping for it. I'll put it to you that way. X-Fats, remember, value isn't measured in kilos or clothing sizes. It's measured in your actions, your words, and the way you treat others. Well, these all have to do with the toxic ritualistic, babe. Your actions, it's a huge part. Toxic ritualistic behaviors, a huge part of it. Your words, toxic ritualistic reinforcement, the way you treat others, toxic ritualistic reinforcement. Or I'd say even your words would be more of the toxic ritualistic mindsets. And if you reinforce on others or not. Yeah, it's all there for those in the community. But I love the projection. People will remember how you made them feel, not what you weighed. Yes, but sometimes feelings can be wrong, especially if they're within a DIS order. Then it's wrong. And it's okay to say that because we can't affirm it. The issue will not be fixed through affirmation. This is not one of those ones. It's totally reinforced through affirmation. So choose care over cruelty every time. I think it is good to choose care. Fat liberation is a political movement that benefits everyone. You don't have to be fat to fight for the rights and safety of fats. So I would say that fat liberation is not a political movement. I think it has a lot more to do with toxic ritualistic reinforcement and staying within this issue and running from and avoiding problems. That's what I think it is more about, which, yes, it does need to be dealt with care and deliberate action, but it also needs to not be affirmed and not reinforced. Okay? So with that, you guys, I guess I'll go. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will talk to you guys tomorrow. Have a good one. Bye.